Beginning this broadcast with an important update, our Pakistan Bureau Chief Anas Malik is safely home from Kabul. Anas Malik, who was on a reporting assignment in Kabul, went missing last evening. While our first thoughts were and remain with Malik's family, we worked with the relevant authorities to secure his release. We will shortly share more updates. Moving on now to the top focus in WION Dispatch today, as China continues to defy global outcry, carrying on with military drills around Taiwan for a second day. The Taiwan military has called Beijing's latest drills as highly provocative. The Taiwan Defense Ministry says that 68 Chinese fighter jets and 13 warships crossed the median line that runs down the Taiwan Strait, harassing the sea and air around Taiwan. The median line is an unofficial but once largely adhered to border that runs down the middle of the Taiwan Strait, which separates Taiwan and China. Taiwan's Premier Su Tseng-chang called for allies to push for de-escalation and blasted its quote-unquote evil neighbor next door. Pelosi's Taiwan visit has escalated the diplomatic standoff between the US and China. China has ended the cooperation with the United States on a litany of key issues, including climate change, anti-drug efforts and military talks. Relations between the two superpowers have nosedived over the island of Taiwan. China has also sanctioned the US House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her immediate family in response to her visit to Taiwan, which Beijing calls vicious and provocative. Meanwhile, continuing with her Asia tour, Pelosi met with Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida in Tokyo amid reports that 5 Chinese missiles landed within Japan's exclusive economic zone. Tokyo said that 4 of those missiles are believed to have flown over Taiwan's main island.
With regards to China's ballistic missiles falling into waters near our country, including our exclusive economic zone, I have told her that it is a serious issue for our security and for the safety of Japanese people. We strongly condemn China and have protested the recent Chinese actions that create a serious concern for the region and to the peace and stability of the international community. We urge that they stop military drills immediately.
We have said from the start that our representation here is not about changing the status quo here in Asia, changing the status quo in Taiwan. It's about, again, the Taiwan Relations Act, the U.S.-China policy, all of the pieces of legislation and agreements that have established what our relationship is, to have peace in the Taiwan Straits and to have the status quo prevail.
China, meanwhile, maintained that the military operations being conducted are to safeguard China's sovereignty and territorial integrity.
中国已经多次表明了坚决反对佩洛西串台的立场，并且指出，如若成行，将严重违反一个中国原则，严重侵犯中国主权和领土完整。中方必将采取坚决有力措施应对，一切后果由美方承担，勿谓言之不预。
The United States has condemned the missile launches by China, calling it an overreaction. The US also said that they would keep the US Navy ships in the region to monitor the situation.
We will not seek, nor do we want, a crisis. At the same time, we will not be deterred from operating in the seas and the skies of the Western Pacific, consistent with international law, as we have for decades, supporting Taiwan and defending a free and open Indo-Pacific. To that end, Secretary Austin today has directed that the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan and the ships in her strike group will remain on station in the general area to monitor the situation.
For more on this, we were earlier joined by Ross Darrell Feingold from Taipei, who is a political risk analyst. Let's listen into his inputs.
Clearly, it's escalated beyond the typical Chinese military exercise, or what we've become accustomed to in recent years, notwithstanding the increase, for example, in aircraft incursions into what Taiwan has identified as its air defense identification zone. But the scale is large, and it's not a surprise, and one could say it's commensurate with the warnings that China gave that they would have a reaction to a visit to Taiwan by Speaker Pelosi. It's certainly of great concern to the government and the military here in Taiwan. They use a lot of standard language, however, to say that, well, we're monitoring it. And then we hear the same thing from the United States as well. Well, we're monitoring it. We're nearby, and we all hope you stop, right? So we hear that message from Taiwan. We hear it from the United States. We just heard it from Japan's prime minister as well. But to answer your question, they're not going to stop just because spokesmen from the other governments or leaders from these other governments make that statement. So at least for the next a couple of days over the weekend, this will continue. And because it's a weekend and stock markets are not open in Taiwan or in China, it's possible that we could see a more intense series of exercises on Saturday and Sunday, and perhaps that will be the end of it for now.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.